We're going to head into the gang-infested parts of New York City. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we were going to talk about The Warriors. This film came out February 9th of 1979. It's rated R. It's an hour and 32 minutes long. At least the director's cut is, which is what I'm reviewing. I've seen the theatrical cut, but it's been forever. But I bought the Blu-ray off Amazon for like $8. And there's some added things that Walter Hill added on to this. We'll talk about them. And the budget was $4 million. And when it was released that year, it made $22 million. But there was a reason why the grosses were a little bit lower. They thought it was going to be a huge hit. But they had some issues upon release, and we'll talk about those. This movie is based on a novel. And when the producers bought the rights, they were trying to get it made for a little bit, and they were having a hard time finding financing for this film. And they went to Walter Hill. Walter Hill was coming off of Hard Times, and the driver, he would go on to do Southern Comfort, 48 Hours, and 48 Hours. Other films of note, he produced Alien franchise. Walter Hill's been around for a long time, and he's a really good director. And so Walter Hill came on. Paramount gave him the money, and they as long as they could do it for a low budget, which $4 million, still an okay budget back then, but not enough for what, it was. They had to do what they had to do for that amount of money. So they cast a bunch of newcomers for the most part for this film. Michael Beck plays Swan. He is a member of this gang, the Warriors. James Remar, who I know who's had a long career, been in a ton of movies over the years and TV shows, plays Ajax. He's a member of the Warriors. And David Patrick Kelly, who's been in a ton of movies over the years too, plays Luther. He's a leader of another gang in this film. And this movie is a very simple setup. We see the Warriors in the beginning. We're introduced to each one, and they're discussing going to this big meeting. This one head of this one gang is called the meeting of all the gangs in New York City, and they're meeting in this park. Now, the Warriors are out of Coney Island, so they take the train up to, I don't remember where they get off at, but it's way away from Coney Island. And they all meet in this park. Now, in this scene, they actually had 1,000 extras in this scene to fill it out. And it looks like a mass gathering, and it's supposed to be all gang members, all these different factions, and nobody's fighting. Everybody's called a truce, and they want to hear what this one gang leader has to say. And he's proposing is they can run the city if they want because they outnumber the cops. He figures their numbers are around 100,000 gang members total with all these different gangs throughout the city, and there's only 20,000 cops, and they could run everything if they just got along and played nice with each other. Well, David Patrick Kelly's character, Luther, who's in this gang, pulls out his gun. Nobody really sees it, and he shoots this guy right in front of everybody. And nobody really sees him shoot him except for one guy. One of the members of the Warriors saw him, and David Patrick Kelly sees that this guy saw him and starts shooting at him. And the cops show up all at the same time, so there's pandemonium. Everybody starts running. And the Warriors take refuge in this cemetery not too far from where they were. And their leader gets killed in the process. And now they realize that they're being set up. Word gets out that the Warriors did it because David Patrick Kelly's character goes and tells all the other gang leaders that somebody from the Warriors shot this guy. And now all the gangs want to kill them pretty much. And they're on the run trying to get back to Coney Island. That's pretty much the movie. And they get the word out. There's this radio program, and she sends out a code over the radio about the Warriors, and everybody's on the lookout for them. And basically all it is them trying to get back to Coney Island. They lose some members along the way, and Swan, Michael Beck's character, becomes the leader, de facto leader. There's a little bit of piston and moaning about that between him and Ajax at first, but they kind of drop it right away. And all these guys are working as a team. And it shows the inner workings of this gang where they actually do care about each other. They might not get along all the time, but they do care about each other, and they got each other's backs, and they're just trying to get back to Coney Island and survive this night. So they basically get into scuffle after scuffle as they're trying to get on the train. They get on the train gets stopped because of a fire, and then they're trying to make it on foot to a different station, and they have run-ins with different gangs, and all this stuff goes on. And finally, at the end of the movie, they make it back to Coney Island, but David Patrick Kelly's gang shows up, and they're going to have a throwdown on the beach. Well, in the meantime, word gets out. Another guy witnessed David Patrick Kelly's character kill this gang leader, and he goes and tells this other gang that it wasn't the Warriors, it was this guy. And they all show up at the end and surround David Patrick Kelly's gang and tells the Warriors, you're all good, you can go, we'll take care of this. And the Warriors walk off the beach, and we don't see what happens, but we know that they pretty much killed David Patrick Kelly's character and his gang. And again, we see the Warriors just looking out over the ocean. That's pretty much the end of the film. This film is really well done. Walter Hill's a really good director. He always has been. He's had some hits over the years and some misses, but he's a very solid director. And he does really well here. New York City looks grimy and gritty, but beautiful all at the same time. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And what I liked in the director's cut, this isn't based on a comic book, but it's based on a novel. But Walter Hill's a big comic book fan. In the director's cut, they do these really cool, like, a character will be standing there at like the end of a scene, and it'll go into a transition into a comic book panel, and it'll transition to another comic book panel and go back into the movie. It's really well done. I really like what he does there. It comes off really well. I think it works really well in the director's cut. He wanted to do that originally back in '79, but he didn't have the money to do it. But in the director's cut, he was able to go and do these things. Paramount gave him the money, and he was able to add them into the film. And I think it works really, really well. The fight choreography works really well. Matter of fact, they had Craig R. Baxley as the stunt coordinator, and the fights come off really well. They're violent. They look real. They're just really well done. So for a '79 movie with a $4 million budget, the action comes off good when the fights do happen. Actually, when this film was released, getting a little bit of trivia now, that's pretty much the film. I'll give my rating in a minute. When this film was released in '79, it actually opened up really well the opening weekend. I thought they were going to have a huge hit on their hands, even though despite bad critical reaction. Now it has a 90% Rotten Tomatoes, but back then the critical reaction was not good. But the problem was in New York City, gangs would show up to see this film, and by happenstance, their rival gang would be in the same theater, and violence started breaking out. So Paramount pulled the marketing for the film because it was bad press for Paramount. So Walter Hill believes that's why the film did okay with $22 million gross. It made some money, and it went on to become a cult hit on video. But at the time, he truly believes it would have made a lot more money if it wasn't for that factor of it. The post-production for this film was rushed because there was another competing gang film called The Wanderers coming out the same year, but later that year, I think their target date was July. So they had multiple editing units working on this film to get it out by February. They wanted to be the first ones to the punch, that's not different in Hollywood. It's been going on for a long time. You always have competing films. I remember when Dante's Peak came out and Volcano came out the same year. Competing films, it happens a lot. You get that from time to time where two very similar films come out and they're just trying to get out. Like Armageddon and Deep Impact is another one. Two competing films. One got out before the other, although Armageddon came out later and did better than Deep Impact, but you have that happen sometimes. This was a 60-day shoot, and basically the whole shoot took place between midnight and 8 a.m. They worked all nights, and real street gangs do appear in the film from time to time. But overall, this is a really well-done film. It's a film I've seen way back when the theatrical cut, and this is the first time I've ever seen the director's cut. I saw it on Amazon. It's a movie I've wanted to see for a while, and I'm like, for $7.99, I'm going to buy this director's cut. And I watched it last night, and I loved it all over again. I give The Warriors a 9 out of 10. I think this film really kicks ass. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. A 9 out of 10 for The Warriors. Have you ever seen The Warriors? Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. I greatly appreciate it. You all stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll be back next week with another review. Thanks. Bye.